Okay, people, today let's take a quick look at the Jada Toys Cyberpunk Edgerunners Lucy and David. Now, like I mentioned on the Rewind, I have no connection to Cyberpunk. I knew it was a game at some point. I remember people talking about it, but beyond that, no idea. So when I would see these two in the cases at like San Diego Comic-Con, I was interested. I admired them. I didn't have as much interest in these as I did, say, the food mascots or Scooby-Doo. Oh man, I can't wait for that line. Or even Street Fighter. But Jada Toys just puts out kick-ass action figures. So I am more than happy to give these two a test drive. Looking at the packages, there's the yellows, there's the logos, there's the names, there's the windows showing everything in the package. I'm not sure why the boxes are shaped like this. I mean, you do this, regular action figure box. Down here on the side, there's this kick out at an angle. So I don't know if that has something to do with the property or if that's just done for effect. On the side, there's some artwork of both characters. On the back, I'm assuming this is like a show poster, right, with the characters and everything. On the other side, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. On the top, same thing with a little more window to let the light shine down inside of it. On bottom, here's your legalese, your barcodes. Let's get these open, see what's going on. Getting David out of the package, my first instinct is to blurt out solid. I've been messing around with it for a little bit and going through the articulation and everything, and every time I bend something, pose something, put something into position, it feels like it goes there and just locks in. There's detents in a lot of the joints, like the knees, the ankles, the elbows, and the first time you move them, it's pretty tight, but then it kind of just balances out. It gets to where it flows, even though you can feel the in it, but then you put it there, it's gonna stay right there. The next thing I realized about this figure, because I was about to say, let's take a look at the sculpt, is that it's mostly covered in soft goods. Let's look at those first because they are very, very nice. Now, we know these were prototyped by Rebel 10 Customs, so you knew they were going to be good right out of the gate. For being factory produced, these are really super nice. They kept the stitching small and subtle, and the material bunches up really nice for this scale. Not to mention this different color running down the sides that looks, well, I don't know how they did that. Is that a paint or a dye or something? And then more stitching around the cuff. Again, not really noticeable. Then you get to the jacket and it is neon yellow and bright white. Like he's biking at night and does not want to get run over, so he's wearing something very reflective. Oh, is that Edgerunners? The jacket is a completely different material. It's kind of a nylon, like it's waterproof, almost like raincoats. At least that's what it looks like on the outside. On the inside, it's lined with the same material as the pants, I think. I don't know fabrics and such. I'm a plastic guy. But then you get up to the collar and look at that blue on the inside to a purple color at the end. That is insane. If I had one major gripe, and even it's going to be insignificant in the grand scheme of things, I wish the belt was also fabric, or at least these parts that hang down. This is a separate plastic piece that's not really made of a soft material, plus it likes to jump up and down. I want it to stay here. So of course, every time I turn around, it's up here. But that's really the only big gripe I have so far. Although I doubt I'm going to find anything negative about the sculpt. Getting down to the boots, it has a very clean feel to it, but there's a lot of details with these kind of strap things coming around and raised up. Got another one coming up over the foot, and then we get into a neon greenish yellow color. And that's clean along with this lighter gray paint for the raised details. I had to look at the back of the box to see if the pants were supposed to be pulled up to the top of the boots, but they're not mounted there. They just kind of hang there, because if you really, really wanted to, get down there. See, it likes to snag just a little, but if you want it straight-legged, it will go down over the boots. It just kind of sits high water. Then to put it back into position, it's not nearly, look, it goes right back up. The gloves have that same type sculpt, that techno look with the knuckle dusters and the armor plate coming around on the side and the back. And that sculpt extends up onto the forearm with a raised gray edge. There's also some techno-ness to the skin itself. There's some panel lines up here on the chest and a few down here around the abs. It looks muscular, it looks natural, but then you get up close and you're like, oh, wait a second, are those angled nipples? I also really, really like the skin tone here with the shading in the musculature, but then a nice peachy, fleshy color on top. It's very anime-ish, it's very cartoonish, but it feels very natural. You can see that kind of extending up onto the neck too. Then you get to the head. Out of the package, I thought, well, the eyes aren't super detailed, but I got my peepers out and looked, and there are actual eye components. There's also more of that panel lining running down in the face. Not enough to make you think, well, that's a robot, but just enough to make you think, it may be a robot. Some hard angles in the shaved part of his head that brings in that baby bird blue, another color for the palette, and then the hair just kind of flowing forward. The jacket shouldn't be too hard to take off. There you go. There's panel lines on the arms too, even though they're covered up most of the time. And I just figured out what that weird accessory is. We'll get to that. I'm not going to take the pants off because they are fitted around the waist, although they seem to have a little bit of stretchiness to them. And I've just noticed, I took the jacket off, he's got this spine enhancement. There's that green color again on some dark gray and some black, and these two little dots. The panel lines again, and shading that is covered up. They could have skipped that, and I would have went, well, they could have painted that, but they went the extra mile, and I appreciate that. Well, shit, it's even down here below the belt and pants. Again, it was almost not necessary to do that, but hey, Jada. That's awesome. Now that I have the jacket back on, I'm reminded that there is some wire running around the top of the collar, so you can splay it out. You can lay it down like that if you want, bring it in, and then I think there's some lighter wire running down the front to put some bend to that, some flow. Why did I put the jacket on before going through articulation? This will give you an idea of what kind of range it has with the clothes on. Up at the top of the neck, there is a dumbbell joint with a ball down at the base. Altogether, can look way up, can look way down. So much tilt. Edgerunners, where? I don't know what to say. Butterfly joint at the shoulder goes back, goes forward. Pin comes out to the shoulder for rotation, which will get you about right here. It pushes the jacket way back, but you can go straight up. The hinge raises up to here. Trust me, there is a bicep swivel. Double elbow goes up to there. Swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell mid-torso, I think a ball at the waist. So it crunches about that far, and then arcs back, tilt, and then rotation. I think there's a ball at the hip that comes up to there, and then back, and then out, even with soft goods pants on. In fact, let's see if it can go all the way. Look at that. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee kicks up to, oh yeah, bong. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle, kicks back, kicks forward, and then front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, there is this cross on a piece of rope. Don't think it hangs down that low, does it? Looks like it's laying right mid-chest. Put a twist in it and double it up. The material doesn't want to lay against the body, but I do like that look better. Out of the package, there are two fists. There's also a right trigger finger hand and a left kind of clawed thing. And there is up and down hinge on a trigger finger hand. Trigger finger hand means gun, and this has that futuristic techno punk kind of thing going on with a little red here and there. Fingers are a bit stiff, but you do the push, you do the twist, and you're good to go. It's time to cyberpunk. Edgerunners. Got an alternate head with an angrier look. Way angrier look. And then there's this. When I opened the package, I thought, why does he come with a shoe size measuring thing? But then I saw this peg hole on the left forearm, and you just remove the cap, the peg that's in there, and does this plug down? Oh, I got it backwards. How about this way? That's pretty neat. I'm assuming the arm opens up and all kinds of, and then this is a laser or a rocket or something. Although I'm afraid this is going to be a snack for the carpet monster someday soon, because that's too neat to not use, but oh, wait a second. Is this an actual pocket? The stitching doesn't continue around, so can I open that up? And if I get it in there, can I get it out? Okay. It's in there. Look at that. All in all, even though I don't know anything about it, this figure kicks ass. And to be honest, so does Lucy. She is deceivingly intricate. Straight out of the package, it's like, okay, female form sculpted, not near the soft goods. There's not a lot going on here, but there is. When I was looking at the promotional images, I thought, how the hell does that jacket work? Now that I have it in hand, I realize it's just a jacket that's down over the shoulders. It doesn't have enough material to come up like a collar and up over the shoulders, but really, it's simple but effective. I don't think there's a wire in the part going around the top. And there may be, okay, there is one down at the bottom. Then my next thought was, well, that thing's gonna fall off every time I go to pose it. But no, arm out and arm up, almost all the way around. And then you bring it back and, okay, I kind of bunched it up right there. It stays around the torso for the most part because of this wire at the bottom and just how it's made, how well made it's made. There's a little red dot just to get some detail in there. And then I guess the 4 square pattern has something to do with the show because I see things like that and the equals sign. And look at that, up under the hair. You can't see it in most positions, but there it is. That red seam around the neck and then down to the front to the design work, the reds on top of the purples coming to here, the seam running up the middle. And then there's this, another thing that confused the hell out of me. Again, in the promotional images, I thought, okay, there's fabric on the sleeves and around here, however that works. And then they've somehow glued it to the upper thigh and around to the back. But no, now that I have it in hand, that is sculpted. And why wouldn't it be? That's the easiest way to go. Don't need to glue fabric on there. The colors and the sculpt for the most part match up really nice between these two parts. So you can see why I thought that. It looks like this leg, the purple armor sculpted on and everything, goes up under there, but that's only because that's exactly where the swivel is, beautifully hidden. Then it comes down to more panel lining around the knees and the lower legs and more of these red lines and red not overlays, but sculpted parts, sculpted high spots. Like I said, a little more simplistic simply because she's not as covered as David. The belt piece here is another overlay, but this time around it is glued down, well, I say that, it is pegged in. See right there? You can pull it out if you want to, but I don't know why you'd want to. Just leave it where it is. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Some kind of holder for something. It's also pegged around here on the backs. Again, there's probably no reason to take this off because it just leaves you with a butthole. There's also this on the palm of all the hands. And at first I looked at it and thought, is that a microphone? But I don't know what it is. Again, I haven't watched the show, but it's a nice attention to detail. Because then we're going to get to my favorite part, the head. And it's not because of the finely detailed eyes and how big they are and stuff. No. It's the sherbet hair. I absolutely adore this pastel pink going into a purple, to a green, to a yellow, to a pink, along with some white on this side. It's just eye-catching on top of this design work, you know, the darker colors, the purples. Well, okay, there is the sleeves and the fake fabric around the upper thighs, but man, this is where I look every time. This is a soft rubbery piece glued onto the top of the head, so this strand hanging down has no problem getting out of the way when you're posing. Just the proportions, the sculpt, she looks so graceful. Well, I'm assuming everyone in the show can do all kinds of fighting moves, jump kicks, twirling around and stuff, but I don't know, I'm just picturing her. Just the feel I get from the figure, that she's much more elegant about it. I'm thinking it's gonna be easy to take this jacket. Yeah, not a problem at all to take the jacket off. There's the sculpt of the arms underneath. There is some overspray to give it a little skin tone difference. You can kind of see the darker shade there. The plastic sheen is kind of shining back at me, but right here, it goes down the front of the shoulder and then on the outside of the arm. There is a darker just psh, and it's the same here on the exposed skin of the hips. Just a little spray right there. And maybe up here, spice it up a little bit. Articulation, there is a big long dumbbell joint at the top of the neck with a ball going down into the body. That allows for up and down, lots of tilt, and then left and right, and angled, and down, and up that way, down, and over, and all around. No butterfly. I'm guessing that's because of the size of the figure and the distance between the shoulder and the neck. The articulation would just kind of run into itself here. Like I showed a minute ago, pin coming out to the shoulder allows rotation all the way. Well, you could go all the way around, but you're just going to be rotating inside and kind of dragging the half jacket or whatever this is called. Shoulder hinges up, swivel at the bicep, double elbow comes up to there, swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. Dumbbell mid-torso, ball at the waist, crunches to there, arcs back, tilt, really far tilt, rotation. Ball coming out to the hip, kicks up, kicks back, kicks out. Love that swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes, oh, easy, bam. I was about to say no boot swivel, but they moved it down to here. Then there's a hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, and front-facing pin for rocker. For accessories out of the package, she comes with 2 of those clawed hands that I didn't know what was going on. Now, is this something from the show? Well, I know you can do that with your own hands, but I just mean it feels very signature or something. Then there's trigger fingers for left and right, both with up and down hinges. Once again, I'm going to put that in there because she also comes with a gun. This one seems much more real-worldy, just with some blue. Fingers are a little bit thinner here, but with some pushing and some twisting, it fits right in. Then there's a left fist and a right cigarette holding hand. Are we going to see this at retail? I don't know. I was going to say she comes with an alternate angry head too, but this is more like enjoying the carnage. The hair's much more wild than the head on the figure, so different poses. Different scenarios. Then there's these yellow wires, which, again, I had absolutely no idea what they were. My first thought was, hey, we're making spaghetti. Then I noticed these pegs on the end. I texted my son who's watched the show and he said it's monowire and sent me this picture. And sure enough, you roll the sleeve up and there are peg holes on the forearms. On that picture I just showed, it looked like it was coming through the sleeve, but here there's... Well, is there a hole? No, surely not. But there's also this pin on the back, so I'm using that to go under the sleeve, so it'll kind of help hold it on. And then the wire is a bit bendy, so you can bring it around, make it more dynamic, kind of whippy. You're not gonna get tight curls, or well, maybe you will. You keep messing with it. It does like to fall out if you get crazy with it, so I'm holding it in as I'm doing a slight pose with it. Later on, I started pulling the sleeve over the peg. That helps hold it on a lot better. Size-wise, David stands at about 6.5 inches up to the top of his hair, and then Lucy stands at about 5 5/8, which seems a little larger in scale than the Jada Toys Universal Monsters or Street Fighter, but then again, I don't know how big David is supposed to be. Maybe he's a huge guy. They do seem to skew more towards the Hasbro Marvel Legends, slightly larger than 1/12 scale. Or maybe Mezco scale. Here they are next to the 1/12 Collective Crow and Morbius. Or to swing back around to Jada Toys, here's their Count Chocula and Chester Cheetah. So at the end of the day, I said it once. I think I said it twice. These are some kick-ass action figures. They would probably be even more kick-ass if I had any clue who they were or what they did, but fun action figures are fun action figures. These are top-notch. The sculpts are crisp, the paints are nice, the soft goods are very premium. They bunch where they need to, they don't bunch where they're not supposed to. It all feels very natural. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you'll get some cloth goods and you're trying to pose the figure and you're just like, come on, man, just pose, dang it. I never had that feeling with these. They're smooth but secure, I guess is the best way I can put it. I know I say this a lot, but this actually makes me want to go watch the show. Because looking at the back of the box, there are some interesting looking characters that would make for some interesting looking figures. There's not much else I can say here. Oh, the price point is higher than their Street Fighters or their food mascots, but there's also soft goods. There's more on the manufacturing side with these, but it's still not a crazy high price. It feels very premium for the price that these are. So yeah, there's that on top of everything else. Jada, you are killing it. Killing it.